The thunder did not come from a cloud, but from the very throat of the infinite itself, a sound so profound it shook the unformed mud of the world into the high peaks of the Altai. In that first blinding heartbeat of time, Kök Tengri, the eternal blue sky, pulled himself upward, tearing away from the embrace of the brown earth to create a space where life could finally breathe. It was a separation born of a divine necessity, a cosmic sigh that birthed the horizon. This was not a god who sat upon a golden throne in a distant hall. This was the canopy of the world itself, an all-seeing sapphire eye that demanded order from the chaos of the shifting sands. On the weathered monoliths of the Orkhon Valley, carved in the sharp, angular script of the ancients, the story is written in stone that will outlast the memory of kings. When the blue sky above and the brown earth below were created, between them were created the children of men. And to lead these children, to bind the warring hearts of the nomadic tribes into a single, unbreakable arrow, Tengri reached down and touched the brow of a mortal, ordaining that the world of men must reflect the perfect harmony of the stars. Imagine a man standing where the grass meets the clouds, his skin bronzed by 1,000 suns, and his eyes reflecting the vastness of the steppe. This was Bumin Khagan, the first to truly hear the whisper. He did not claim his throne through the strength of his arm alone, though his sword was terrible to behold. He claimed it because the sky had looked. This cut was more than just luck or the right of birth. It was a holy spark, a shimmering vital force that flowed from the star. It was the wisdom to know when to strike and the mercy to know when to heal. As Bumin stood upon the high plateau, the air thick with the scent of wild sage and horse sweat, the heavens opened with a light that was neither sun nor moon, but the raw radiance of the blue sky itself. I have made thee great. The wind seemed to roar across the valley, not for thy own glory, but so that the world beneath my gaze shall know peace and the ancient laws shall be kept. The creation of the Turkic world was a pact written in. Tengri did not demand temples built of cedar and limestone, for no roof could contain his majesty. The temple was the open plain. The altar was the high mountain peak where the air grew thin and the spirit grew clear. When Bumin Khagan raised his standards, he looked not toward a statue but toward the zenith, acknowledging that his power was a gift held on a fragile thread. If he grew proud, if he forgot the needs of the simplest shepherd or the widows of his warriors, the sky would turn gray and the cut would vanish like dew in the morning sun. This was the terror and the beauty of the first Turkic dawn, a world where the divine was as close as the air in one's lungs and where the mandate to rule was a burden of sacred balance. The tribes watched as the first Khagan bowed his head to the north, south, east, and west, sealing the destiny of a people who would forever be known as the sons of the Blue Wolf, born from the earth but destined to always look upward, seeking the favor of the one true, eternal, and infinite sky. In those first days, the law of Tengri was simple and absolute. The heavens rule, the earth provides, and the Khagan must ensure that the wheel of the world never halts its turning. For the moment the balance is lost, the sky shall withdraw its blessing under the infinite dome of the blue sky. The world was never a lonely place for the children of the steppe. If Kök Tengri was the distant, all-seeing father, then the world beneath him was a tapestry woven with the threads of living spirits, a divine trinity that bound the mortal to the eternal. At the heart of every felt-lined yurt, when the winter winds howled across the Altai mountains like a pack of hungry ghosts, she was the silver-haired mother, the goddess of the hearth, and the radiant protectress of the unborn. To look upon her was to see the shimmering light of the moon reflected in a mountain lake. She was the warmth in the cradle and the sudden pulse of life in the spring soil. When a child let out its first cry in the high pastures, the elders knew it was Umai who had placed a drop of the milk of paradise upon its tongue. She did not dwell in the unreachable heights of the upper sky, but walked among the women, her presence felt in the rhythmic hum of the spinning wheel and the gentle hand that broke the bread. She was the vital link in the long chain of Turkic blood, ensuring that for every warrior who fell in battle, yet life on the inner Asian steppe was not merely a matter of human lineage. It was a conversation with the land itself. This was the realm of the Yer-Sub, the earth-water spirits who inhabited the jagged peaks, the rushing silver veins of the Orkhon River, and the ancient gnarled trees that stood as sentinels against the horizon. For the early Turks, a mountain was not just a pile of stone. It was an ezi, a spirit master with its own moods and memories. To hunt without offering a prayer or to pollute a spring was to invite a disharmony that no sword could mend. The Yer-Sub were the guardians of the ecological balance, the silent witnesses to the Khagans' justice. They were the intermediaries between the humanity of the middle world and the majesty of the sky. When the tribes gathered for the spring equinox, they did not build temples of marble that would crumble with time. Their temple was the open valley, their altar, the living earth. They understood a truth we often forget, that the land does not belong to the people, but the people to the land. Binding this spiritual trinity together was a legend written in the very marrow of their bones. Long before the first Khaganate was forged, it is said that a great war left only one survivor, a young boy found bleeding in the tall grass. It was not a human who saved him, but a Sina, the sacred she-wolf with fur the color of storm clouds and eyes like molten gold. In the secret shadows of a mountain cave, she nursed the boy back to health, imbuing his spirit with the wild instinct. From their union came the Ashina clan, the noble wolves destined to lead the Turkic people. This was no mere fable to the Nomads. It was their identity. They carried the wolf-headed standard into battle, not as a symbol of cruelty, but as a reminder of their miraculous survival and their divine origin. To be a Turk was to carry the blood of the wolf and the blessing of the sky, a dual heritage that demanded both the cunning of the... When Bumin Khagan looked out over his people, he did not see a collection of fragmented tribes. He saw the descendants of Asena, the children of Umay, and the stewards of the Yer-Sub, all unified under the singular watchful eye of the blue sky. This harmony of spirits was the foundation of their world, a delicate balance where the divine was as close as the breath of a horse and as vast as the turning stars. The year was 552, and the air over the Altai mountains was thick with the scent of destiny and the chilling rasp of winter's end. Bumin, a man with skin cured by the desert sun and eyes that had seen many a brother fall to the red earth, stood where the world meets the heavens. He was a son of the steppe, a leader of a people who had long toiled under the shadow of others, but he knew that to forge a nation from the dust, he needed more than the iron of his sword or the speed of his composite bow. He needed the cut. You must understand, my children, that the cut was not a crown or a piece of land. It was a divine light, a vital ghost of power breathed into a mortal by Kök Tengri himself. It was the blessing that made a man a Khagan, the sacred mandate that turned a warrior into a father of his people. But the cut is a jealous guest. It arrives on the wings of virtue and departs on the breath of pride. Bumin ascended the high peaks where the golden eagles nest, leaving his horse and his guards behind. He stood alone beneath the vast cobalt expanse of the eternal sky, his arms spread wide. "Blue Father!" he cried out. His voice a pebble dropped into the ocean of the firmament. "I seek the weight of the world, not for my name, but for the blood of my..." The trial was not one of combat, but of the spirit. To receive the cut, Bumin had to prove that his soul was as wide as the horizon and as clear as a mountain spring. He had to show that he could maintain the balance between the upper world of the gods and the middle world of men. The sky does not speak in the languages of men. It speaks in the sudden calm. In that silence, Bumin felt the heavy golden... It was a burden that would never leave his shoulders, a profound responsibility to ensure that his people lived in harmony with the spirits of the mountains and the waters. When he returned to the valley, the tribes saw it in his eyes, a light that was not there before. He gathered the chieftains of the clans, men whose hearts were as wild as the stallions they rode, and he spoke to them not as a master, but as a vessel of Tengri's will. He told them that the era of wandering in fragments was over. He spoke of the Göktürk Khaganate, a realm where the laws of the ancestors would be written in stone, and the honor of the wolf would be the law of the land. Under the shadow of the Altai, the elders lifted Bumin upon a white felt rug, raising him toward the sky 3 times in the ancient rite of ascension. In that moment, the warring tribes became one body, one spirit, bound by the cut that flowed through their leader. Bumin Khagan had achieved the universal balance, proving that a ruler's true strength is not found in the blood he spills, but in the divine peace he preserves. He knew that every decision he made from that day forward, every peace pipe smoked and every arrow loosed, would be a testament to the favor of the sky, for the cut is as fragile as a flower in the frost, and only a heart of pure iron can keep it from shattering. Thus, the first great Khaganate was born not of conquest alone. The fire crackles with the scent of burning juniper, its smoke rising like a silver thread to weave itself into the infinite tapestry of the blue sky. In the center of the gathering, the old Kam, the one the poets say was born with the rhythm of the steppe in his marrow, begins the slow, rhythmic strike of his drum. It is not just a drum, it is his mount, a vessel made of sacred birch and the hide of a white stallion, capable of galloping across the borders of the seen and the unseen. As the beat quickens, echoing the frantic pulse of a hunted deer, the Kam's eyes roll back, revealing the whites that mirror the snowy peaks of the Altai. He is no longer merely a man of flesh and bone. He is the bridge. Behind him, the tribe watches in a silence so heavy it feels like the weight of the mountains themselves, for a sickness has fallen upon the Khagan's youngest son, a fading of the cut, that divine vital spark that, with a final thunderous strike, the Kam's spirit breaks free. He does not go upward toward the light of Tengri first, but plunges downward into the roots of the world where the shadows are thick as curdled mare's milk. He descends into the lower world, the realm of Erlik Khan, the iron-willed master of the dead who sits. The air here is cold enough to shatter stone, and the rivers flow with the tears of those who forgot the laws of the ancestors. The Kam moves through this gloom, his spirit armor clanking with the sound of 1,000 iron bells, warding off the screeching demons who seek to snag his soul. Finally, he stands before Erlik himself. The lord of the underworld is a figure of terrifying majesty, his eyes like smoldering embers, and his mustache curled. "You come seeking what I have rightfully claimed," Erlik's voice rumbles, a sound like a landslide in a deep canyon. The boy's thread was frayed. Why should I knit it back? The calm does not flinch. He stands with the quiet dignity of one who has looked into the sun and not turned away. "I come not to steal, O great judge of the deep, but to restore the balance that Kök Tengri decreed at the dawn of time," the calm replies, his voice steady despite the shivering of his spiritual frame. The Khagan has he has promised to honor the Yer-Sub, the spirits of the water and earth, and to stain no mountain stream with the waste of men. The boy is a vessel for the future of the 9 tribes. If his light is extinguished too soon, the wheel of the steppe breaks. Would you be the one to halt the dance of the eternal sky? A tense silence follows. Erlik Khan watches him, sensing the weight of the Kam's conviction. He knows that even he is but a servant to the ultimate order of Tengri. With a grunt that shakes the very foundations of the earth, Erlik waves a hand of shadow. "Restore the cut," the Dark Lord commands. "But remind the Khagan that the earth-water spirits will not be mocked again. Every life is a loan, and I am the one who eventually collects the debt." The Kham begins the arduous ascent, pulling the boy's flickering soul from the gray mists. It is a climb that would break a lesser spirit, a journey through the realms of memory and ancestral ghosts. But as he nears the middle world, he feels the warmth of the sun, Tengri's eye, beaming down through the smoke hole of the yurt. He bursts back into his body with a gasp that sounds like a drowning man finding air. The drum falls silent. The Kham's face is slick with sweat, his sun-bronzed skin pale, but he looks toward the Khagan and nods once. At that moment, the young prince draws a deep, rattling breath and opens his eyes, the color returning to his cheeks, like the first blush of dawn over the Orkhon Valley. The balance is held. The shaman's song has reached the ears of the gods and returned with the gift of life, proving once more that the world of men is never truly alone. The sun began to set on the absolute political reign of the Khagans during the 10th century, an era when the 200,000 tents of the Karakhanid Turks turned their gaze toward the horizon in 960 AD and embraced the message of Islam. One might have thought Kök Tengri had finally closed his great blue eye. But a god who is the sky itself does not simply vanish. He merely shifts his hue. You see, my friends, the ancient ways of the steppe were never truly discarded like old garments. Instead, they were woven into the very fabric of the new world, a silken thread of blue running through a tapestry of green. If you look closely at the modern world, beyond the gleaming glass of the rising cities and the ancient dust of the Silk Road, you will see that the cut, that divine spark of vital force and legitimacy, never truly left the spirit of the people. It filtered into the marrow of their traditions, like a mountain stream joining a great river, coloring everything it touched with the shade of the eternal. Even today, when a traveler in the high Altai or the rolling hills of Kyrgyzstan ties a colorful prayer ribbon, a shalama, to the branch of a sacred tree, they are speaking a language understood by Bumin Khagan 15 centuries ago. When a grandmother in Turkey pinches a blue glass bead, the nazar, to the collar of a newborn child to ward off the evil eye, she is invoking the protective power of the Kök, the sacred blue of the sky that has guarded her ancestors since the dawn of time. This is not merely superstition. It is a living memory of a time when the world was a single breathing organism, where a river was not just water but a spirit, and a mountain was not just stone but a guardian. The word for God in the modern Turkish tongue, Tanrı, still carries the phonetic ghost of Tengri, proving that while religions may change their names, the human yearning for... We see this legacy fluttering in the wind atop the flagpoles of great nations. From the turquoise banners of Kazakhstan to the deep azure of the Azerbaijani and Turkish standards, the color of the blue sky remains the national heartbeat of millions. It is a visual oath to the ancestors, a reminder of the Orkhon inscriptions where Bumin Khagan declared his birth to be Tengri-like. In the post-Soviet era, a movement of neo-Tengrism has bloomed in the Altai Republic and across Central Asia as a new generation seeks to reclaim an ecological identity that respects the earth-water spirits, the Yer-Sub. They understand what the ancient Kams knew in their bones, that to poison the well is to wound the soul, and to forget the sky is to lose one's way entirely. The myth of Kök Tengri teaches us that our leaders and our lives are only as strong as the cut we carry, the integrity and wisdom granted to those who live in balance with the universe. It tells us that though empires fall and monuments like the Kultigan stone may weather under the snow, the relationship between the human heart and the infinite above is eternal. It is a story of resilience, of a nomadic spirit that can never be truly caged because its ceiling is the stars and its floor is the golden grass of the steppe. The ancient stories still speak to us, whispering that we are all children of the same sky, bound by a... Subscribe to hear more legends from the dawn of civilization. Tell us in the comments.